Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. Bear with me as I admit other folks in the waiting room, and then we'll get started with our program momentarily.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning again. Thank you all for joining. Angie's going to continue letting folks in as they join, but for the rest of us that are here, I want us to start off with an icebreaker so we can get to know each other. In just one moment, you will see a poll pop up on your screen. Please take a moment to share which region you are calling from. We have 60% of participants who have already answered. Let's get close to 100 and I will share the results.
And Roxy, I think we have some people outside of those regions too. So if you are outside of those regions, drop it in the chat.
Yes, please let us know in the chat. We're at 74% now. Thank you all for participating. I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So we have 24% calling in from South LA. We have 10% calling in from East LA, 17% from Central LA, 12% from West LA, and we have 37% of folks calling in from other places. And I'm looking in the chat now. We have people from Dallas, Texas, Orange County, San Bernardino County. We have an individual from Mexico. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We're going to move on to our second question. Our second question is going to ask you all, where are you in your educational journey? And you should see that pop up on your screen now. I'll give everyone a few minutes to respond. Thank you, everyone. I will end the poll now. If the poll didn't pop up for you, see if you see the icon at the bottom of your screen and click it. The question should be there. And let's share the results. So we have 32% on the call who are in college, 7% are in graduate school, 2% are in professional school, and almost 60% have graduated. And perhaps you're considering whether or not you want to pursue law school. I see in the chat that we have someone in middle school. Thank you so much for joining and being a part of us today. I'll stop sharing the answers for question 2. And our last question is, what are you most excited to learn about today? And you're welcome to choose any and all options that apply. You can choose more than one answer this time. And I'll give you all the moment before I share the results. Thank you all so much for your participation. I think we're close to having everyone have responded. So I'm going to end the poll now and I will share the results. So we have 38% of folks are here to know why law school and a legal career is important. And we have phenomenal speakers to speak to that today. 48% of you want to know how to choose a law school. Again, there are resources here for you for that. 69% want resources and tips. 48% want to know how to survive in law school. You're getting ahead. I love it. 29% of you want to know alternative paths to law school. And again, 70% want to know different careers in law. Phenomenal. Thank you all so much for being here on a Saturday. This was our icebreaker. Feel free to continue chatting some of your answers in the chat box as we continue on with our program.
All right. Well, I want to welcome you all to our program. Today, we are celebrating the second annual Law Day. And we are truly delighted to have all of you here today as we embark on this journey to break down the barriers to entering in the legal field. And many of you put in the survey that you are interested in learning about law careers and why it's important, how to survive the first year of law school, resources and tips. And we want to make sure that you all have all the tools you need. The idea for this program actually came from, seeing so many families with extensive connections in the law being able to take care of the next generation of lawyers and their families. As someone that was a first generationer in law school, it was important for me to reach out to friends and friends of friends to help me with the law school journey. But we wanted to make it an easy alternative for you all to be able to learn some of the tips in trades that actually go into the law school application experience. There are people right now on a golf field, a golf course, talking to influential people about how to get their kids into law school. And I want you all to see us at LA Civil Rights as the folks that can help you with your law school journey. You do not have to be connected to a judge in your family or anything like that to make a difference. And we want to make sure that upward mobility programming is something that we do and we lift here at LA Civil Rights. It's the legal profession, of course, is a rich tradition, and it's for all of us, and it's open to all of us. And so we have prepared a day of friends, of family like friends in the legal community that lean in. And these are very, very prestigious folks that are on the call with us today to make sure that you all have the tools that you need to go to law school. We are lucky to have a video from our council president that will give us an opportunity to hear about his experience in law. And there's so many careers you can do in law. Of course, we have a lot of public officials and politicians that are lawyers. So we will hear from the top person with a law degree in the city council now. Please play the video for Council President Krekorian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Krekorian, the president of the Los Angeles City Council. And I want to thank Capri, Maddox, and everybody at LA Civil Rights for putting together another outstanding LA Law Day. And I want to thank all of you for participating today. So before I was elected to office, I had a long career as a lawyer. But when I was growing up, I don't think I even knew another lawyer. My mom and my dad didn't have the chance to go to college. In fact, I was the first one in my family to get the opportunity to go. But with their encouragement and support, I pursued that career option and was able to get a chance to graduate from law school and practice law for a number of years. And the result of that was that I laid the foundation for my future in public office, having served on the Board of Education of Burbank, the California State Assembly, and then now in the Los Angeles City Council. But you know, when I was first considering the practice of law, I didn't know much about being a lawyer other than what I saw on TV and in movies. So I associated practicing law with litigation, being in a courtroom. But there's so much more to the practice of law than that. There are so many other options that are before you that you should really take the opportunity today to think about and to explore. Because a law career can open up a tremendous number of doors for you, and it can give you an opportunity to have a voice, to shape the direction of history, really, for our whole society. It's lawyers who give real life to our Constitution. It's lawyers who protect those who have no power. It's lawyers who very often shape the policies and practices that impact our entire society. And it's lawyers who allow fair, nonviolent dispute resolution that is really foundational to what we take for granted in a civilized society. So today is a wonderful opportunity for you to learn more about the options that are in front of you, to prepare yourself for being able to apply for law school and to develop a career in the law. And I really encourage you to make the very most of it. Seize this opportunity to be able to give yourself the advantages that you'll need to be able to pursue a career in the law, and by doing that, to be able to contribute to our society, to our city, to our nation. We're counting on you, and we need your generation to take the baton and lead us forward. And I think that for many of you, the best way to do that may very well be a career in the law. So I encourage you to do your best. Hopefully this will be a great opportunity for all of you like it was for me. And I thank you very much for participating in today's event.
Wow, I really appreciate that message from Council President Krekorian. He's someone that is an ally with our department and helped us tremendously as we launched the participatory budgeting and other programs in our department. He's right about a varied career. You can read my bio online, but there's so many things that I've done with my legal background, and I couldn't have this opportunity if it weren't for the good folks at Pepperdine School of Law who helped me over 20 years ago, and they continue to still help us by providing free mediation training for our discrimination enforcement arm of our operation. And we have Dean Shellac Richards that is here from Pepperdine School of Law, as well as other esteemed guests. But I just had to give a shout out to my beloved law school. People were going back and forth in the pre-call, shouting out their law school affinities. But definitely, I'm very, very grateful for Pepperdine and their continued support. I'm also grateful for Araxia and Angie, who led the effort to put this together this year. And a special shout out also to Nicole Bryant that helped us do it last year with Mark Pamperman, who will not be on the call because he was on this call last year and he was inspired to go to law school. So he is somewhere at UCLA Law, probably writing a paper right now, or doing research. But I just want you to know that this is a great opportunity, and I hope you all take it full advantage of it. Take notes, think of people that you may want to stay in touch with, etc. So with that, I wanted to just tell you that we have the elected city attorney here with us. We are excited about having the elected city attorney. She is the top prosecutor for the entire city of Los Angeles. She is someone that is smart, talented, down to earth, tells it like it is. And, they said she's the 43rd city attorney in the city's history, but she is the first woman and a woman of color. And, when you talk about breaking the glass ceiling, she is someone that is a fighter. She is someone that lifts people as she climbs. And I couldn't think of a better person to be here with you all today. I think Khalil Rashid, also one of her deputy city attorneys, is also present on the call, as well as Phil Lamb. So I'm very, very grateful for the city attorney family. It's a place I worked off and on for a majority of my career. And so I'm just really, really delighted to have Hydee Feldstein Soto with us. Madam City Attorney, floor is yours.
Thank you. It takes me a New York minute to unmute myself. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hydee Feldstein Soto, and thank you so much for that kind introduction, Capri. I also want to give a shout out to my dear friend, Dawn Harrison, who is LA County Counsel and who I think will speak to you right after me. Dawn and I have sort of a standing conference call on Friday afternoons, and we do our best to keep it. Some days we do, and some days we don't, but it's always helpful to be able to reach out to others similarly situated. And so that's the theme that I want to talk to you about very briefly today, reaching out and finding help. One of the questions that I got was, what advice can I give about surviving law school and what would I recommend? And it's pretty simple. Find a buddy. Find somebody to study with. Find somebody to keep you on track. The same way that if, you go running in the mornings, it's a lot easier if you have a friend to run with. It doesn't feel so much like work or an obligation. I would tell you that study buddies are pretty much what got me through college and law school. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Así que para todos los latinos allá, un fuerte abrazo. If you had told me when I was a girl in San Juan that I would be sitting on this forum here in Los Angeles today as the elected city attorney, it was way beyond not just my grasp, but way beyond my reach. It was not anything I ever thought about. Spanish was my first language, and I moved to the mainland USA at the age of 17 to study for college and then law school. Why did I pick law? For me, it's a little bit different than it was for Council President Krekorian. I grew up in an era where there weren't a lot of careers open to a young woman. My parents got married in 1954 when they had a great deal of difficulty in finding anyone who would marry a Puerto Rican Catholic woman and a New York Jew. And so, yes, my lifetime spans an awful lot of changes in our legal system, all of which are for the better. However, my dad, although he was a corporate lawyer by day to put food on the table, was a do-gooder by night. And so from a very young age, he formed the first labor union for the longshoremen and harbor workers in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So he did union work when it was difficult to do, when un sindicato was just not something that existed on the island. My father represented prisoners who were incarcerated in a Spanish dungeon underneath the city of Old San Juan and got a federal district court to shut down that prison under the 8th Amendment for cruel and inhumane punishment. This was in the early 1970s when the rights of the incarcerated were. Sorry, that's my dog. weren't even a twinkle in anybody's eye. And so from my vantage point, I always saw law as a tool for good and as a way to do different things. I wound up going a fairly traditional route. I did very well in law school, and I started off at law firms. I mean, that's what I did, mostly business law firms. But I would have a second piece of advice for those of you who go through this journey. Don't be afraid of change. You never know what's going to rise up to meet you. And sometimes the road doesn't appear to be what you thought you wanted. But if you keep putting one foot in front of the other and making the best of whatever situation you find yourself in, you'll find yourself growing and utilizing the way in which law school helps you think, and the doors that the degree can open for you in ever better ways. My current job is huge, much bigger than what I thought. I oversee an office of over 1,000 legal professionals. That's not all lawyers. It's about 550 lawyers, and the balance are paralegals, legal secretaries, investigators, hearing officers, you name it. Any kind of job that legal clerks that touches the law is typically part of my staff. I'm going to take 2 seconds to plug my office. We have internship programs, we have volunteer opportunities, we have job openings at just about every level. If you're interested in law, I happen to think our office is a great place to start or to wind up. Okay, I wound up here as sort of an accidental politician. I do want to echo one thing that Council President Krekorian said and lift it up again. I would say that the world, that my generation in particular, is waiting for your voices, for your perspectives, for your contributions. Your potential is limitless. And rather than focusing on the hurdles or the difficulties, focus on how you can open and wedge and expand. Some of that is a buddy, like I mentioned. Some of it is being open to change, and some of it is finding a mentor. No one does this journey on their own. When I graduated from law school, I was incredibly fortunate to find mentors who gave me the opportunity to succeed or to fail. I mean, you have to do your own work. You have to put in the work to do something, but get involved, reach out to people, and work on doing what you can to establish connections that will last you a lifetime. I would be lying if I didn't say that grades are important. They are. So work harder than you ever thought you would, because those first-year law school grades follow you around for far longer than they should. And I would recommend getting involved in community service, forming connections in your neighborhood, whether it's at your religious institution, whether it's volunteering with a legal aid organization. Once again, plug for my office. We have a website and we list a lot of the resources and places where you can volunteer, commit some time. I think I am out of time, and I certainly don't want to chew into Dawn's time. So all I can say is be patient. The path can seem long and it can seem frustrating, but I am here to tell you that even someone born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, many miles away, can wind up getting elected when she runs for the first time at the age of 62, okay, to the Los Angeles City Attorney. And it is my law degree that opened those doors and allowed me to walk through. So thank you for the time. I wish you all a really wonderful day. I do have one substantive topic to suggest to you, which is that there's a proposal right now at the state bar to eliminate the licensing requirement by the state bar and to provide an alternative path to practicing law through an apprenticeship program. Personally, I have a hard time with that just because the legal profession, we need at least a system of regulating supervising attorneys. But once again, this is your voice that matters. And I do think that especially young people interested in law should be weighing in on that option loudly. So thank you very much for the time. Have a great day.
Thank you, City Attorney. I'm so grateful for those wonderful remarks. Now I would like to welcome our final speaker before we begin our panel in just a moment, but I wanted to just echo a couple of things the city attorney shared. Don't be afraid to change. I worked in the city attorney's office. By the way, I started in the city attorney's office as a volunteer intern. So it is a great place to start. I worked there as a deputy city attorney and left there as a special assistant city attorney. But my point is that I run the civil rights department now, and I'm the founding executive director, but I was previously a prosecutor. So like, there's so many ways you can use your law degree, and definitely we really need your voice and we do need your skills. So if you're close to going to law school and you just need a little bit of help, just know that we are here to help you with all the information that you'll need. And next, we'd like to have our very own Dawn Harrison, who is the county counsel. It's wonderful that she is serving in this role, a woman of color that is leading this operation at LA County. She's the first African-American county counsel since the office was established in 1913, and a law degree helped her on this way. And so I want you to hear from her. So please welcome LA County Counsel Dawn Harrison. Dawn?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hydee. I could listen to Hydee talk forever. But thank you. Good morning, everyone. This has already been such an inspiring event for me. First, I want to thank Capri Maddox. I want to thank her for her leadership and for creating this program and putting this program. I hope there are many, many more years of this program. I want to thank her team for organizing this event, which I know is going to be filled with powerful stories and invaluable insights from the various esteemed leaders from the law community that will be on the panel and in the various breakout rooms. I also want to thank Hydee, my good friend, Madam City Attorney, for inviting me to be an opening speaker with her. I'm both honored to speak alongside her, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here and be a part of this event. As was stated, I am the county counsel for the County of Los Angeles, and I lead the Office of the County Counsel, which is one of the largest public civil law firms in the country. We do not practice criminal law. We solely do civil law. My office has over 350 lawyers, over 700 employees, and we have consistently enjoyed the reputation, I'm gonna do a plug for my office too, like the city attorney, of being among the finest public law offices. To add just a little bit of context, the County of Los Angeles has 88 cities. LA City being one of them, the largest one, but we have 88 cities in the County of Los Angeles, and the population of the county is over 10 million. The budget for the County of Los Angeles is over $43 billion. And the county is run by a 5-member elected board of supervisors. Its constituents are served, you all are served by 38 county departments, and I guarantee there's no one on this call that is, or on this meeting and this event, that has not been touched by the County of Los Angeles, whether it's paying your property taxes to the treasurer tax collector, whether it's voting in an election run by the register recorder, county clerk, whether it's adopting a dog at the county shelter, or whether it's abiding by a health order by the county public health officer during a pandemic. You've all been touched by the County of Los Angeles. And it's my office that provides that legal advice to the Board of Supervisors, the other 3 elected officials, which is the assessor, the district attorney, and the sheriff, and all of the appointed county officials and county departments. As for me, I started my legal journey with the county counsel's office straight out of law school. And I chose law school because I had a passion for children's legal issues and juvenile justice. I am, like Capri, first generation to go to law school. On my mother's side, I'm first generation to go to college. And in my extended family, I have a number of relatives touched by both the juvenile dependency system and the juvenile delinquency system. And so that sparked in me early on in my education, seeing how those systems touch them, how the lack of dedicated advocacy affects them to this day into their adulthood. And so that drove me to want to go into those systems. So when I joined County Counsel's office, I started with advising the Department of Children and Family Services and the Department of Public Social Services, the two county departments that serve our most vulnerable populations. And I joined government because, frankly, upon graduating law school, knowing that that was my passion, children's legal issues and juvenile justice, that was not something that I was going to find in the private sector. So even during law school, I sought out nonprofits. I worked in nonprofits all throughout law school, specifically the Harriet Buhey Center for Family Law. And then upon graduating, I ended up in government. I was sworn in immediately after passing the bar, thrown into a courtroom at the Children's Courthouse out in Monterey Park. That's the courthouse for the county that handles all of the juvenile dependency cases. Had a caseload of over 700 cases, representing both at that time children and social workers. It was terrifying and exciting at the same time, but it is mentorship. So I'm going to go back to what Hydee said, because it is seeking out mentors that helped me, that taught me, that provided me resources. Those were invaluable persons in my life and in my early career. Stepping back, I failed to mention in law school, seeking out those affinity groups. There was first generation groups. There's a Black Law Student Association that I was a member of. There's La Raza that I was also a member of. My mother is Mexican, so I was a member of both. And seeking out those friendships and those partnerships to help guide me. I could not have gotten through law school without those relationships that I forged. And likewise in my career, I do not think I would have had the success that I had, or have been able to handle 700 cases on my first day thrown into a courtroom without mentorship. So sought out those mentors that took me under their wing, provided me with resources. And with each new chapter of my career, I've always sought out mentors to learn from. And today, for many of you, this is the start of your career, where you're making decisions on what path you want to take. And I encourage you to not leave this event without making connections. I think it is important to remember, as you listen to all of the various speakers, the panelists, the breakout rooms that are here today, what's important to notice, I think, are the various journeys that have led them to the variety of legal practices that are represented here today. And I hope that you take away, as Hydee alluded to or mentioned, I hope you take away this one truth, which is that there is a place for you in our legal community. Your unique life experiences will be valuable and invaluable in our legal community. So I want to thank again Capri, thank Hydee. I want to thank all the legal professionals that are participating in the panels and the breakout rooms. Your presence here signifies a commitment to the future legal leaders of Los Angeles County. And I hope that each of us can carry forward the spirit of mentorship, empowerment, and leadership that is wonderfully exemplified here in this event today. So thank you for letting me be a part. No, I'm not a city person, I'm a county person, but thank you for letting me be a part of LA Law Day. And I look forward to all of the future legal leaders that will emerge from this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Really appreciate your words, and we appreciate your service. I want to get to our panel quickly and to tell you, by the way, I think everyone's shouted out their organization, and if you wish, you can put a link to your organization in the chat. I hope someone does it from the city attorney's office, county council, definitely our operation, or any information you think folks may need about any of the speakers or the organizations that were mentioned. I want to tell you that we are going to have amazing speakers here, but I really wanted to let you know that we have the chair of our Commission on Civil Rights, Abigail Zelenski. She is a leader in the legal space and really did a lot for our city in so many ways. And she also is the founder of Zelenski Law, and it's a boutique firm that provides legal representation, advice, and counsel as it relates to employment law matters. Of course, she's been appointed as class counsel in 40 class actions. She's recovered millions on behalf of employees. I think and these are folks that from the motion picture, security, healthcare, food, retail, and banking industry. She has a JD from UCLA School of Law, and she graduated Phi Beta Kappa from the other university in town, USC. And we have another panelist that is with us as well, and someone that's, you know, highly esteemed, Lynette Jones. She is the Deputy General Counsel for Kroenke Sports and Entertainment. And you know that name, you know, Kroenke, it's synonymous with athletics and sports teams coming to town and that are doing very well in this town on some days. But her role involves negotiating all kinds of broadcast deals for local stations, cable and pay-per-view or regional sports. So again, someone else who's using their legal career to touch your lives indirectly. If you talk to someone from the county, but now you're going to have a chance to talk to someone that may impact what you see on Disney, ABC, ESPN, Freeform, and Hulu. Prior to this work, she was at AT&T and did a lot of work in that space with DirecTV and even Warner Media. So both these women are powerhouses. I'm abbreviating their bios for you, but just know that these are powerhouses. So let's begin our panel discussion. And first, I'd like to ask you both, why did you pursue a legal career, and how has that changed since becoming an attorney? Commissioner Abigail?
I wanted to be an attorney since I was 5 years old, but I had no idea how I was going to do it. And first of all, I really appreciate this panel, LA Civil Rights, Capri, Roxia, Angie, and all of the speakers. I wish there was something like this when I started out. I came here as an immigrant from the Philippines. I didn't know any English, but another barrier that I had was that I was undocumented. When I first came here, it was also a difficulty just to enroll in elementary school and figure out how that was going to be. But it was always my dream to go to law school. I didn't get my citizenship actually until it was my 3L year. I didn't have really anybody to turn to when I was applying to college or applying to law school. So I really leaned on the school administrators, watching what my friends were doing, and getting into that. When I was in college, I already knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but when I was in college, I decided, although things change, I wanted to pursue a career in public service for the government. And so I interned at the LA Superior Court, not to date myself, but for the Municipal Court Judges Association, which no longer exists because that was unified with the Superior Court system. And during law school, I also worked for governmental entities for the Commodities Futures Trading Commission at the State Bar of California. And so just growing up without services and being, scared to take them, I wanted to pursue a career where I was helping people. When I landed my first job, I actually decided to go into employment. I guess another thing about my background is that I was also a child worker from 5 years old to 13 years old at a newspaper factory. And so class actions can help thousands of people at a time. And I took an employment law course, and it was just something that I wanted to do. And so when I started my career, I did employment law because it can help so many people, especially in like the class action framework. And then what I decided to do, because of course there are 50 hours, not 24 hours in a day, I started volunteering for different like community-based organizations. My heart goes a lot to the Filipino American community and helping with them. So throughout my career, I've continued to do employment law now for the past 20 years, but I continue to do public service in my volunteer time. And I was very fortunate enough to get appointed in 2019 to the Civil Rights Commission. And it has been so wonderful because I get to use my legal background. And I always say, my joke is I feel like I'm an intern for the city attorney's office, because what I love volunteering to do is help with, we have our commission duties, but we also have the fortune of volunteering for different ad hocs within our role. So helping with the administrative rules and trying to interpret them, helping with the training. I don't know if I answered your question or if I'm rambling.
Yes,
but
you did. You do so much for us, and you train the trainers. And I think that's something else that's key, is that, you know, when you have a law degree, you can even train others in the legal field. And that's something that you've also done. And, you know, I just really wanted to tell you, thank you so much for your service, but I'd love to hear from Lynette about her work as well. Lynette, do you want me to repeat the question, or can you just tell us a little bit about your journey to law school?
Yes, my journey to law school was not the traditional path. I was in college, struggling a little bit. My family, when I was growing up in Nebraska, we lived in public housing. We were on public assistance. And so no one in my family had ever gone any further than high school. And so I made a decision when we relocated to Louisiana that I wanted to do more than graduate from high school. I wanted to go to college. And still to this day, I'm the only person in my family who's graduated from college. And when I went to college, I was struggling. I had to work full time. My full-time job that I worked in the evening was for a music publication. Started off as an intern, eventually became a paid intern. And this is back in the day when you could work for free without college credit. And I just made the best of that opportunity. You know, I sought out public assistance in college. That's how bad it was. And so I needed that job to pay for books. I, at the time, did not know if a graduate school of any kind was in the cards. I eventually ended up working at MTV as a producer on a TV show. I used the work that I did in the music industry, working for a music publication, to use my relationships to transition into a TV production job. And then I eventually ended up working in the legal department of an animation studio as an executive assistant. And it's there where I realized writing was very important. The reason why I was hired by the head of the department was because she just needed a strong writer. It didn't matter to her that I didn't know anything about the law. She said she would teach it to me. And so, you know, here I was riding a bus all over Los Angeles, working for an animation studio. And she eventually suggested to me that I consider going to law school. I couldn't afford it, so I didn't go. Later, I ended up working at DirecTV as a paralegal. And I had an outside law firm contact me and tell me that they felt that I was being underpaid and underutilized because the work I was doing was a little bit more advanced for a paralegal. And they felt that I should go to law school to get the compensation that they felt I deserved. And so I discussed that with my manager at the time. He said he agreed. And then both outside counsel and my manager agreed that they would write me letters of recommendation. I ended up taking the LSAT. I only had two schools I could apply to, Loyola and Southwestern, because they were both evening programs. And so Southwestern immediately contacted me and I decided to go with Southwestern. There was just such a sense of community there, and it's the best decision I've ever made. And then that's not to say that there weren't struggles, because I was working full-time, going to school in the evening. I had a mortgage, I had a car payment. There were all these responsibilities that I felt I had, but I still didn't want to give up on the opportunity to participate in certain things that I thought would give me skills that I needed in my quest to become a lawyer. So I did participate in things like the Trial Advocacy Honors Program, which, even though I knew I was going to be a transactional lawyer, I knew that understanding the basics of trial practice would make me a better listener. It would make me more attuned to, what people put in writing and how those things eventually affect a lawsuit, and if you're drafting a contract. And so those are the kinds of experiences I had. One of the things that I did in law school and college, and I still do to this day, is volunteer in the community. I do a lot of community service work. I've done nonprofit adoptions, pro bono adoptions with public counsel. I currently serve on the board of directors as a treasurer for the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. I do work in the community with assisting people with applying for public assistance. I do a lot of expungements. So I'm very much involved in the community, and I think that that makes me a better attorney.
Yes, and it's wonderful to hear from both of you in these spaces, and I love the stories of struggle. And I definitely understand that, from child labor to public assistance or anything in between, there are barriers, but it's all about overcoming. And I love your story too. Law is my second career, and so I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to have both of you with us. Now, we have a lightning round, because I think I have to really make sure you all are all finished by 10:20 for us to have some Q&A. So I'd like to rapid fire these next questions. What is the best thing about being an attorney? And I'll give you an or. You can talk about what the best thing is about being an attorney, or what has been a challenge that you faced in your career. So either best thing about being an attorney, or the challenge or barrier that you faced as an attorney, or to become an attorney.
I actually think it's my answer's sort of the same. The best thing is that feeling from helping people, but I wouldn't say it's the worst, but helping people, listening to their problems every day can take an emotional toll on you. And so one thing that I do always tell, like, my mentees, students, young attorneys, is to make sure to take care of yourself, because when you are a lawyer and you are helping people, you are a sponge, and you are talking to them, and it's not a back and forth where you share your problems, they share their problems. They're sharing their problems. You are soaking it all in as a sponge. And then later on, you have to figure out what's right for you, whether it's meditating, going to your favorite restaurant, watching your favorite movie, to just help you decompress and to relax. So while I've dedicated my life to helping people, I realize that I also have limitations in doing that. And I've only learned, I would say, the past few years that mental health and just taking care of myself is also very important.
I think for me, the best part of being an attorney is that I'm always learning. So I always ask friends. I have a friend who works at the Boeing company. She used to work on Air Force One, and she was in control of the IP for Air Force One, which is the president's plane. I ask her questions all the time. What is your IP experience like? What is that like working for an airplane manufacturer? I ask friends who work at TikTok, who are on the behind the scenes part of it, where they're doing monetization. I ask them all the time, how does that actually work? And I use those experiences in my day-to-day and just having a different perspective on how things operate. And so for me, just always constantly learning from people who work in the public defender's office, people who work as DAs, the kinds of things they talk about, from how they resolve cases. I use all of that in my day-to-day. Is Capri frozen or am I frozen?
We can hear
Capri?
you.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Now
We
we
can hear
Yes.
you now.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer. And I just wanted to get a sense from both of you. If you were applying for law school now, if you were interested and you were in this space now, like what's the best piece of advice you could give someone that is, on this journey?
I would say it is to get legal mentors early, to make like strong connections. It's not a numbers game. So it's not like, oh, I have 10 professionals, 10 mentors that I know, but get like one or two who really care about your career trajectory and really care about you, your profession, and your career, and that you can learn from. I wasn't able to get that until a little bit later, after law school, but I wish that during law school, I was able to get that mentorship.
I would say even at the high school or college level, it's important to have a mentor who can guide you down the right path to law school. If it's something you're truly interested in, figure out what area you want to work in, whether it's you want to be a criminal attorney, you want to be a prosecutor, or you want to defend people, or you want to work in the nonprofit space. In any event, just finding the right person to give you guidance early on before you get to law school, because you're going to need an advocate at some point before you get to the law school stage. And then you're going to need a sounding board once you're in law school. I think it's very important. And, sometimes for students of color, that's not always there. And so we end up relying on other law students who are a few years ahead of us to give us guidance. But sometimes we need an experienced attorney to be that soundboard.
Yeah, that's great. And I really love the idea about, having mentors and, doing all you can to lean in. I want to just, ask just one more question about how it was when both of you went to law school. I remember hearing everyone else bios, and they were talking about how many judges were in their family and things like that. And I felt empowered because it took me a lot longer to get to that seat. But I just wanted to know, what was that experience like for you? I found it to be, a little deflating in the beginning, but then empowering. But I just wanted to know, what was that like when you were in a law school setting with people of such privilege?
When my first year during law school, my 1L year, I would say I felt pretty alienated. And I was trying to like connect with other students, but given my upbringing, I just felt like the entire time that I was there, during first year, that I had this imposter syndrome. So-and-so is smarter than me, so-and-so is smarter than me. And law school is very competitive. So even though they're smiling and they're friendly, everything's graded on a curve. And so I tried joining study groups, but for me, it didn't work because I didn't learn the way that they learned. And it also, I think at that time, my self-esteem wasn't as strong as it was now. And it just made me feel not as smart. Oh, they understood that from class. That's not what I understood from class. And so my first semester of 1L year, I actually did quite poorly. I got my grades. I cried for for 2 weeks, and I thought, okay, everybody's better, everybody's smarter, everybody has their connections. I don't have any of this. And I don't know what it was, maybe just crying all my tears out. But second semester of 1L year, I decided to just study the way I was studying since junior high and high school. I actually just study better listening. I'm a copious note taker. And then I uncoupled from the study groups. And then I started getting just more self-esteem, and I didn't work during 1L year, but I started working during 2L and 3L. And then I started talking to people, not my classmates, but attorneys, and telling them about my struggles. And I think that helped me get the confidence.
For me, I thought, well, first of all, because becoming a lawyer was a second career for me, I thought, I've been out in the field, I've been out working, I've had a career. This should be, I'm very organized. This should be easy enough to just slide in law school. That was not the case. It was time management was so complicated. And to be in a class with people whose parents owned law firms and they were just going to, after they graduate, go to a law firm, and being tutored by someone who's a partner in a law firm, I just had to come to the realization that some people actually were studying 8 hours a day while I was at work. Some people had personal tutors who were parents, who were partners at big law firms. And I had to accept the fact that I am not going to be able to have the time to study as much as they do. I'm not going to have the opportunity to have a partner tutor me every day. So I need to do the best that I can with the resources that I have. So I did my best with what I had. And what I realized is, because I just feel like, as people of color, we have to grind all the time. And so I just put my hat on, like, I'm a grinder. I have overcome a lot of obstacles. I'm just going to do the best I can, and I'm going to graduate. I'm not going to be at the top of the class. I accept that I won't be at the top, but I also know that I'm going to finish. And when I finish, I'm going to use the resources that I've built. I'm going to use the connections that I've made in my career and over my life to get myself to the places that I want to be in my career. And that's exactly what I've done.
Super powerful. So that's proof that it doesn't matter where you start. If you are first generation in your family, from foster care, I actually live with both my grandparents, and 5 families took me in, so I would not go into the foster care system. But I'm just letting you know that it doesn't matter where you start. And I actually want people that are a part of this seminar, that are from underserved communities, to feel like you are the most powerful people in the rooms, because you know how to navigate, you are resilient. And that is a big takeaway. I'm going to ask each of our panelists one more question, and then I want us to get in to start to answer questions now. Right after the answers for these next 2 questions come. And if we don't have as much in the Q&A, I'll go back to asking a formal question. So this question is going to be for Commissioner Zelenski. Your career has led you to serve on several boards like the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, the Filipino American Library, the Filipino American Heritage Institute. Can you tell us how the law has served you in these roles?
I would say that I joined these as a community service. I just wanted to do public service since I went into a private career after law school, where I've stayed. I think it's very mutually beneficial for me to serve in these, nonprofit or public spaces in my career, because 5 years ago I launched my own law firm, and it's a small law firm, And I, for example, don't market and I don't advertise. I help the community, and I think it's a good like give and take because I'm well known in the community. So I help a lot of people there through my volunteer service, but my name also gets out there so that's how I get my clients to help workers, to help small employers. So I think it's a mutually beneficial service. That's not why I went into it in the first place. But it's good to be out there and to help people because they will help you back.
Can you repeat the question, Capri?
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, I need to ask you a special question because
Okay.
you actually are in the sports entertainment law space. And although it was great to learn about your journey to law school and all of, those details, I want to know a little bit about sports and entertainment law. It's a big industry here in LA. By the way, LA Civil Rights was at the Rams game where they lit up the SoFi Stadium in our colors and our campaign, LA is for everyone. Someone put that in the chat too, that LA is for all, so folks can see the logo that represents our department. But like being in that space with, in the SoFi Stadium and knowing they were partnering with us as a city family to reduce hate and discrimination in Los Angeles was something that was a true honor just a couple of weeks ago. But you're in this space all the time, sports and entertainment. What led you to, just can you, not so much we know what led you there now, but could you just tell us like what you like most about it and how empowering it is to be an attorney in those spaces? I want to hear a little bit about your career.
Yeah, so I decided in high school that if I got a job, it was going to be a job involving something I'm passionate about or interested in. So I've already told you that in college, I was interested in music and ended up working for a music magazine. I used to watch a ton of television. So I knew I was going to use that music career to transition into TV. And that's what ended up getting me the job at DirecTV and content distribution. And it's there where I started working on deals, contracts for distribution of sports content. And I started doing Major League Baseball content distribution agreements. I started doing NBA content distribution and regional sports networks distribution agreements. They were so complicated. And I was like, you know what? I want to be known for the person who can work on a very complicated deal. And the reason they're complicated is that they're on the back end, there's so much that goes into getting a game when you're in the park, let's say a Rams game, for example, and getting that technically broadcast out through a system of satellites and cables into someone's home through the television. That's all very technically driven. And so I wanted to be part of that. For me, it's not so much about the excitement of the game. I'm a football fan. The organization that I work for, Kroenke Sports, is based in Denver. That's why I'm calling from Denver, because I'm supposed to be located here. We cover the Denver Nuggets, NBA champions. We also own the Colorado Avalanche, Stanley Cup champions for 2022. We have a Major League Soccer team. We're not associated with the Rams because they're in California. So there's a different legal group under the umbrella that is responsible for the Rams, and then a separate legal group responsible for SoFi Stadium. But what's exciting for me about being in this space is what I can contribute on the back end. Am I the person who's going to negotiate the best contract with a patch sponsor? Am I the best person to negotiate a marketing contract? There's actually a camera system that Mr. Kroenke owns. It's called Skycam. When you're watching a football game, sometimes you'll see a camera that's flying over the field. We own that. It's called Skycam. We have contracts with a bunch of NFL teams. The exciting part of the job for me is being able to talk to the attorney on the other side and make sure we are all on the same page about what the services are going to be, what each party's obligations are going to be. And then sometimes when I see on the other side, there's another person of color, I get super excited because there aren't a lot of women, there aren't a lot of people of color in this space. And so I want to be able to hold some ground here. And I've already started mentoring people at other teams in the NFL and the NBA. And, we've created this sisterhood kind of in terms of what are the struggles that we're all facing and how we can come together and bond with each other and support each other so that no one else quits.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I really appreciate both of you and how you're leaders and role models. And, you walk through a door and you make sure it's open for folks. I think it's so important to know Capri has a dog. But I think it's so important for you to share that advice. So thank you very, very much for the questions being answered. I want to know if any of our participants have any questions. You can put them in the chat now. But I wanted to, while we wait to see if there are any questions in the chat, just wanted to let you all know there's some people that are interested in graduate school on this call, and they're thinking, should I do a master's degree or should I do a law degree? And I actually did a master's degree in thinking, well, I'll just do a master's degree. And I just want you all to know that, again, I'm waiting for questions to come in the chat. Someone on our team can let folks know that do you see questions?
Yes,
we do.
The Q&A portion.
You said what?
Q&A chat.
Oh, I do. I see it. I see it.
Over to the chat, the general chat, if you want.
Okay, good. So, so I just wanted to put a pin in it. I realized that the economic difference of a master's degree versus a law degree, it's a huge divide. A master's degree will probably give you a pay increase of maybe $10,000 to $15,000 in especially in government, whereas a law degree can, take you to, if you're in the private sector, hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference. So just wanted to let you all know that. So we have questions that came in. How do you go about finding a mentor? Someone, if you don't know any attorneys, how do you go about finding a mentor? And we'll start with Commissioner Zelenski.
So there are many bar associations out there that are for lawyers, but they are always open to prospective law students, current law students, some even mentor high school students. And so if there is a bar association that you're interested in, whether or not it's like LACBA, LA County Bar, or an affinity bar association, like I'm a part of the Philippine American Bar Association, I would say reach out to them and say, I'm a student, or I would like to go to law school. Will you be my mentor, or just will you have a telephone conversation with me? Actually, just yesterday, somebody who's already well in their career in real estate reached out to me from a friend of a friend and said, I like the type of law that you do. I don't really know you, but will you have a conversation with me to tell me about what you do? Is law school the right path for me? And of course I said, yes, let's schedule a call next week. Most people will say yes.
And I'm going to just give a quick jump in really quickly and just give a short response. John M. Langston Bar Association. If you contact them and say that you're in high school and you want to talk to someone, whoever you end up talking to is the person who will probably be your mentor. Mexican American Bar Foundation, Mexican American Bar Association, do the same thing. APALSA, these are organizations where you can call, you can tell them you're a student, you want to talk to a lawyer, they'll connect you with someone. That is the person who will end up being your mentor, but you have to stay in touch. You have to be the person to follow up, and don't ever be afraid. Even today, if there's someone who you connect with, don't be afraid to go on LinkedIn, send a message and ask, can I have a phone call with you to understand a little bit better what I need to do to take the next step to get to law school?
Thank you. Thank you for those answers. And of course, one thing that I think is very important to share is if you do reach out to any of our panelists, don't ask them for a letter of recommendation. They haven't worked with you. They, but they can provide advice. And the second piece of advice is don't run around getting advice for 3 years and never going to law school. So that's something that's important. It almost happened to me, and I had to tell myself, I'm not going to tell one more lawyer that I want to go to law school until I've taken the LSAT and I have an application in, because it was 10 years of telling everyone I wanted to be an attorney without actually doing it. And so you don't want to be that person that knows all about how to get into law school, but you never gone. And there, for any lawyer you meet, they've met 50 people that have told them, oh, I got this number on the LSAT. So I want you to know, don't be that person. Don't run around getting advice. Get your JD. Now, the questions, there's so many questions that are coming in. Yes, and this is one that I'm very sensitive to. Someone that's a little older said, is a certain age too old to begin a career in law? The answer, no. And by the way, if you have a private institution of higher learning that violates your civil rights in the areas of age, Commissioner Zelenski and I will take them down. Want to let you know that there are lots of questions. There's opportunities for tuition reimbursement for law school. Are there opportunities to study public policy law? I think that's a question that may be answered with some of our deans from the law schools. And I know we have a dean from a few law schools here with us today. So that might be, we reserve that for a breakout room unless you all have quick answers on the ways you can get tuition reimbursement. Okay, so we'll have that, or we'll save that. Someone save that for the next, for one of our upcoming panels. I want to see, Commissioner Zelenski, how hard was it to start your own law firm?
Well, starting your own law firm, you have to have your lawyer hat, but you also have to have your business hat. So running a law firm is running a business. And so half of what I do is accounting, management, all of the back end things that you would do to run any business, like a restaurant or a stationery store, anything. And then and you also practice law. But I would say get all of your contacts in a row. You tell everybody what you're doing, because you basically I don't like the term, but you eat what you kill. So you have to get the clients in order to make a living.
Wow, that's great. I really appreciate that answer. And, thinking about the business side, there are a lot of lawyers that start businesses and they don't think about both sides. So that's very important. My husband is a small business owner, and, watching him, it's, the complexities there and all the nuances and, all of the requirements of workers' comp, et cetera, that folks have to do or things that you have to think about, new taxes, et cetera. So I want to go to another question I think was about a gap year. And what advice would you give to someone that's currently taking a gap year so that they can have a strong law school application?
I think it's a good idea. For me, I was working. I was building my skill set and what I thought would be important. I didn't think I'd ever be able to afford to go to law school. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the reason why I just never went. And then once I was encouraged multiple times, I sat down and I figured out the math of it. I think the time that I took to work and not going from college directly to law school, I feel that that's what built a certain maturity in me that allowed me to recognize how certain relationships would work to my benefit while in law school. And so I think taking a gap year is a good idea.
And the one thing that I think people should know is the law schools appreciate the fact that you'll be able to get a job when you graduate. So if you have a strong working relationship history, they know that you know how to find your own job. And law school rankings have a lot of factors like the GPAs and how well people do on the bar exam, but they also get ranked on how employable their alums are. So you are a value add if you're someone that has a career. So do not be dismayed at all to think, oh, I didn't come straight from kindergarten to law school. So I just wanted to echo that made you a more competitive candidate, Lynette. Commissioner Zelenski, let's see if we can ask another question for you and try to get through as many of these questions as possible. It seems like, let me see here. If there, you all can see the chat. Is there a question you would like to ask Commissioner Zelenski? If not, I'll, do you often encounter law that is practiced that's entirely different from the law theory? The written law versus in theory? I think that's the question.
I think law school prepares you to think like an attorney, but unless you're specifically taking like a trial advocacy class or an employment law class, then only the practice of law will teach you how to practice law. And so I think your first year and your first few years out of law school, when you're actually there practicing, and hopefully you have a supervisor, a mentor, or a partner who's reviewing your work, checking on it. That's how you learn how to practice law, whether or not it's transactional or litigation, or whatever you're doing.
I would
That's
say
awesome.
for me, I'm a transactional lawyer. Excuse me. I don't go to court, but I manage litigation on the back end. So I contact outside counsel, I give them information, and I basically ask them, is this a plausible theory? Can you give me the information back? So there's this relationship that's developed. In terms of practicing theory, for me, learning contracts in law school was kind of abstract. I didn't really get it until I started studying for the bar. And now I actually use those terms that you learn in theory. I use those terms when I'm talking to other lawyers about issues with a contract. So you learn the theory, but sometimes you don't really put the pieces all together until you actually start working. And there is a question I did want to answer. And maybe one of you can answer the question about the child custody mediation. I do know attorneys who have worked in that area. I don't know that you need to be a lawyer to do child custody mediation, but in my opinion, certain roles like that, it can only help you to be able to navigate the law. So the question that I wanted to answer as a first-generation student in college thinking about law school, driven by the family struggle and resilience, how did you both navigate your career and law school journey while still making sure your family felt a part of the process? For me, my foremost goal was, how do I get out of law school without debt? So because I went to school in the evening, a lot of what I did was focus on, okay, so my mother's getting a little older. How do I make sure that I have enough money that if there's an emergency, I can be there for her, fly to her in Louisiana, take care of her where needed. So part of the job for me was how to maximize student loans without taking out too many loans, and then setting up a payment plan so that I knew I made a goal when I started law school. My law school debt has to be paid off 5 years after graduation, period, in stop. The reason I set that goal is because I felt that for me, being available to my family who lived out of state was extremely important. And the only way to be able to access them is to make sure I didn't have any other financial burdens. So that's probably not the answer you were looking for, but for me, the financial aspect of it was very key because I'd come from a place of struggle. I'd come from a place where I was on public assistance. I'd come from a place where I couldn't pay rent. There were times right after college, I did not have money for rent. I ended up working in retail. I was folding t-shirts, I was folding jeans. And then my other job was slinging fish at the fish market. Did I care? No, I had rent money. So for me, part of the family aspect of going to law school, I didn't have anybody there to help me and do my laundry and cook food for me when I was studying for the LSAT or when I was working and then going to school at night. I didn't have anyone doing any of that for me. Part of the resilience came in, what am I doing to plan to make sure I'm not down on my luck after law school, struggling to pay my law school debt, and then not being available when I have a family emergency?
That's great. If I think they said it during my financial aid 101 at my law school. If you live like a lawyer while you're in law school, you'll live like a law student when you're a lawyer. So
Yes.
I'm glad that you were well ahead of that. And of course, for those that are in public service, I see Phil Lamb has placed in the comments that there are federal student loan forgiveness programs to wipe out a number of your law school loans as people pursue careers in public service. Wanted to ask Commissioner Zelenski if you by chance have an answer to the question about requirements for folks that actually did their college degree outside of the U.S.
So I believe that you can get an LLM, and then if you get an LLM, I believe that qualifies you to take the California bar exam. And so I don't think all law schools have it, but there are law schools that provide LLM programs.
Okay, and for those that are on the call that have institutions where they have LLM degrees and options, can you put that in the chat for folks? I think that is wonderful information to share. The next question I have is from someone who has retired from the DA's office and they are preparing to study for the LSAT, but they want to go into a different area of law, like family law, like if they want to do something different than law enforcement. What does that feel like for you, and what advice can you provide in that space? I'll start with Lynette.
So the question is, what does someone do if they're changing?
They're changing focus.
They're changing focus in their careers. To me, I feel like that's something that all of us can do. What helps me learn about a particular subject matter is volunteer work. I honestly do a lot of pro bono, especially if I know that there's a particular area that interests me and I want to do more pro bono in that area. So if you're interested in family law, I would connect with some of the nonprofits in town like Public Counsel, Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, Asian Americans Advancing Justice. All of these organizations have programs where you can volunteer your time and learn a little bit more about family law and decide is this something you want to do, or maybe even narrow your focus in what aspect of family law you're interested in.
That's great advice. And actually, I think it looks good on your application, by the way, that you're interested in changing, because a lot of things that may go wrong in law enforcement might be family driven, childhood trauma, et cetera. So understanding another area of law and working with families is, a natural connection that can be made. Commissioner Zelenski, I want to ask this next question. Someone says they have a BS in business, but their grades were not perfect and they just finished their paralegal degree and they've done very well. When they apply to law school, which grades will they consider? I think it's the undergraduate grades, but Commissioner Zelenski.
Yeah, I believe it's the undergraduate. So for example, I got into UCLA Law School. It's a great law school. I had really good grades, but I didn't have a great LSAT score. And, maybe law school has changed a bit in the past few years, but they do try to look at you as an overall person. And I think that my personal statement, my struggles, my background, my experience, they took into account, even though my LSAT score wasn't actually strong enough based on the averages and medians that UCLA Law School was posting. And so I would say, go for it, try. And if you don't have enough money to apply to all of the law schools, reach out to them and ask if they'll give you a waiver. I did that for, I told that to a mentee, and she applied to 10 law schools, and she actually got waivers for 8 of them.
And in terms of whether or not your paralegal scores will be considered, I think because they come after your undergraduate scores, what it shows is that you're trending upward and that you have the ability to be successful in law school.
Right. And I really appreciate this conversation. I do want to add one thing to that answer is this is where you would need a mentor to tell you, these are your numbers, this is your deal, especially if you want to go to ABA law school and it's important for your career. That's American Bar Association Law School. The law school rankings may actually make a difference for if you want to go into corporate law, but you can only get into a lower tiered law school with your undergraduate GPA. You may actually even do a pivot. You may do an MBA. I'm all about making as many attorneys as possible, but I want to make sure that your degree is worth what is valued as what you need it to be valued for your career and for your opportunities. I know we couldn't get to all of the questions, but the main takeaways, I think, and by the way, I think Langston Barr was mentioned. The president of Langston Barr is on the call, Nyanza. So you will see her soon in one of the breakout rooms. The other thing that I wanted to say about fundraising is I actually started the Capri Law fundraising program when I was in law school. And I sold t-shirts. You said t-shirts, it sparked something in me, Lynette, to tell people that I sold t-shirts and for $30 a piece. And long story short, I was able to get about $10,000 of extra help to help me, make that transition from working full-time to being a law student without any resources. So, this has been, just refreshing. And I really appreciate your time and the work that you're doing. And I hope everyone on this call heeds the advice from Commissioner Zelenski about taking care of your mental health when you are an attorney. But, and Lynette, you couldn't make us more proud in doing the work. And just, every time I see a sky cam from now on, I'm going to think of you, or even if I'm watching TV, I know that's a sky. My husband and son are going to the USC game in Berkeley today. And so I'm gonna watch, and I'll think of you when I know that camera's zooming around. But it's just nice to know that we have great luminaries like both of you lifting a better Los Angeles. And I encourage you both to just keep the faith and keep the fight. And know that we are here to do the next panels, and we'll make sure that we raise up a next generation of leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Capri. Thank you to our panelists and of course to our attendees for all your engagement. If your questions have not yet been answered, please remember that we're going into breakout rooms soon, and you'll have the opportunity to ask those same questions there. So although all of us, I think at this point have become Zoom experts, I will still share brief instructions as we transition into the second part of our program. In just a few minutes, I will be launching 4 different breakout rooms. Breakout room panelists and for our staff, please look out for the breakout room icon at the bottom of your screen and make sure you choose the one that you have been pre-assigned to. For our student attendees, you too should look out for the breakout room icon at the bottom of your screen, but you will actually have the opportunity to choose which room you will be joining. We will have 3 rotations of each room, and they will last for about 40 minutes. And thank you so much, Angie, for sharing your screen. For reference, our rooms are breakout room number 1, How I Made It, Journeys to Law School. Breakout room number 2, Surviving Your 1L Year. Breakout room 3 are careers in law, and breakout room 4 will talk about the admissions process for law schools. So when you join a breakout room, you will be greeted by one of our representatives from LA Civil Rights to introduce the topic, the speakers, and then they will also manage the audio and visual issues that you may have or if they arise. I do really want to emphasize the goal of these breakout rooms is to allow for conversation between attendees and our amazing breakout room panelists. Big shout out to them for again contributing their time on a Saturday to be here with us. So please, please, please take advantage. At this time, we will take a 5-minute break. Grab your coffee, grab some water, take a stretch, and we'll be back at 10:38 to begin our breakout rooms. And if you have any questions, I will still be here. Feel free to chat me or mute yourself and I can help you navigate that. And with that, I'll see you all in 5 minutes.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Hi, I wasn't able to join Zoom. I was having technical difficulties, but I've been listening in. How can I get into a room? Can you do that for me?
Absolutely, yes, I'm happy to help. We are on break for about another minute or so, but I'm happy to move you into whichever breakout room that you'd like. Once we begin.
I think you mentioned an admissions one.
Yes.
Okay, can I go into that one? And how do I mute myself back? Will I just do *6 again?
Try *6. I'll do it on my end as well, and I'll move you to breakout room 4 as soon as the rooms open up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm really enjoying this, by the way. I'm getting some ideas that hadn't occurred to me before, like asking the schools directly for a waiver. That would never have, that idea would never have occurred to me.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, respectfully, I didn't know we can choose. If we can choose, can I do breakout room number 3?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, welcome back, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will begin our second part of our program momentarily. As a reminder, I will open up all the breakout rooms, and you have the option to choose which one you'd like to join. So we'll have 3 rounds, and you can choose your top 3 to join. You can join breakout room number 3 first. Then once we reconvene in the main room and we open up the second breakout rooms, you can join breakout room 2. And then for your last session, you can join either 1 or 4. It's absolutely up to you. There's going to be great information shared in each one. And if you have any technical difficulties moving into your room, just bear with me, and I'm happy to manually assist you. And with that, I'm going to open up our breakout rooms. I think everyone is back. Feel free to turn on your cameras. Okay, great. So you all should see the breakout rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. Feel free to click the blue join button, and you'll be welcomed by civil rights staff before we begin with our speakers.
Angie, do I have to click the blue button too?
Yes. Let me know if you have issues. I'll help you move there.
Okay, I think I had problem last year, but let me do it again.
No worries. Let me help you. Bear
Why
with.
don't you do that for me?
Yes, I'm happy to. If anyone else is having issues moving in, please feel free to drop your preferred breakout room number in the chat, and I'm happy to manually move you.
Roxy, you're gonna move the phone number to room 4. Do you want me to do it?
I'm happy to do it. Thank you. City Attorney Lam, were you able to go into your breakout room?
I am not. I see you.
Okay, no worries. Let me try once more. Bear with me. Okay, see if, okay, I guess that worked.
Hi, I'm still not in a room, it looks like. Sounds like.
You wanted to go into breakout room number 4, correct?
The one about admissions.
Admissions to law school, or the process of going into law school? Thank you. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Is anyone else having difficulty moving into a? Hi,
Bill
City.
came into his room, but now he's back out. What happened?
I am not sure if you excused yourself from your room. Let's try once more.
I'm going to new room too. Phil, good luck today.
Okay, now he is in room number 1. Oh no. I am not sure why that's happening. City Attorney Lam, do you see breakout room icon at the bottom of your screen by chance? It might be in the more option with 3 dots at the top. You're muted, so let me ask you to unmute. Welcome back, everyone. I'll give folks about 15 more seconds before we all reconvene in the main breakout room. Welcome back. Thank you for being so prompt. I'm going to close the other breakout rooms and we'll reconvene here in just a moment.
Hi, we finished our conversation, so we came to join y'all.
I appreciate it, Blanca. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone else will be here in about 25 seconds. Bear with us, please. And we'll take just a few more minutes of your day before we adjourn.
Perfect. It looks like everyone's back now.